We don't need you. Jack Blood. 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 I'll be back.
Hello, Jack.
We're in a lot of trouble.
Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Danger, Will Robinson, danger. Remain calm. We will not tolerate civil disobedience. Danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Jack Blood. Jack Blood. Jack Blood. Jack Blood. Jack Blood. Jack Blood. Jack Blood is next.
I'll show you politics in America. Here it is right here. I think the puppet on the right shares my beliefs. I think the puppet on the left is more to my liking. Hey, wait a minute. There's one guy holding up both puppets. Shut up. Go back to bed, America. Your government is in control. Watch this or get fat and stupid.
They say if you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. But if you teach a man to fish, then he's got to get a fishing license, but he doesn't have any money. So he's going to get a job, and he has to get into the Social Security system and pay taxes.
It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. By the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beat you over the head in the media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy.
2, 1, 3, cue announcer. And starring the mad prophet of the airways,
welcome, my fellow thought criminals, enemies of the state, and feral humans, wherever you might be. You're dialed into the Jack Blood Show. We are live exclusively on the Chuck Ocelli Radio Network, Ocelli.com. It is 3 o'clock Pacific time, the 16th day of February, 2023. I had to look. It is 2023. Of course, I'm Jack Blood, your narrator, your radio gun. I'll be here for the next 2 hours. This show begins a run of having all my friends on for about the next month. So guests are hard to get, and I have to call in favors with my friends to make sure you guys are properly infotained. And that's hopefully what we want to accomplish. We're going to think about opening up the phones in the second hour of the broadcast, but until then, we'll be doing a lot of news. Joining us here right now in the first hour is, I just call her my sister. She's like family to me. You guys probably all know her very well. If you don't, you're about to. It is the one and only Mouth That Roars, Meria Heller. She is an author, expert, and a radio host in her own right, a podcaster, one of the first podcasters ever on the Internet. And, again, my sister, my homie, my friend, Meria Heller. Good to hear you, Meria.
Hey, it's great to be back with you, Jack. It's been a long time.
I know. Well, we need to get up to speed with the proper visuals, because now all of the podcasts, you have to have visuals, a big studio, and a limo to take you right over there so you can, inform the people.
Well, that's how you know that they're full of crap.
It's crazy because I try to keep up with what's going on with the podcasting world. I do the same thing with music. I don't want to be, the old fuddy-duddy, get off my lawn, you kids. I want to know what's going on. And all I see are a lot of people who do very profitable YouTube shows. I don't think I ever made a dime off of those MFs. And they're really scared to say things because then they'll be punished, then they'll be kicked off YouTube, and there goes their revenue stream. So why would I want to even listen to those people when I can listen to you?
Absolutely. Hey, YouTube demonetized me, God, I don't even remember how many years ago. And at that point, I said, then why should I give them free content? So I barely put anything up on YouTube. But listen, everybody wants to be today an influencer. So who are they influencing and to what is what I'd like to know.
Yeah. Well,
I've constantly said, as you know, Jack, for 23 years now, we used to call it webcasting, podcasting, and I keep telling people, truth doesn't pay. So if you all of a sudden see these podcasters, and I see them on YouTube too, they got fancy studios, they got money falling out of their ears, all this. That's your first clue that they're not telling you the truth. Maybe 10%, that's it. They're all afraid to just tell the truth.
Yeah, it seems like they're pretty much embedded into one camp or the other, which we're going to get to in this hour with Meria Heller today, folks, because this divide and conquer strategy, which is eons old, if not, hundreds of years. If you want to read how the British, handled people in India, that's exactly how they did it. It's never worked better. And, one of the things is I know, you really do not like Mr. Trump at all. And
never did. That's not.
I know me either, which made it really hard for me but I had to come to terms with this. I had to sympathize and understand where people were coming from in their sometimes cult-like support of Donald Trump, because he represents everything that allegedly goes against the system. But we're locked in these camps, in this box. And I remember, interviewing David Icke, 20 years ago, as you have, and you know him pretty well. And one of the things I really liked that he did is he kind of put that in a very simplistic pattern of how you're hiking up a mountain and you stop at a camp and it's really nice and you just want to stay there. But truth seeking and seeking in general means to keep going, not to camp down, and not to fight people in other camps. It's very tribal, and again, we're just seeing evidence of it everywhere, and I thought Trump was a pretty good psyop to do that. He absorbed people who were doing good work in the truth movement, the truthers, the libertarians, the militias, all that stuff. He got them all in his camp, and then pitted them against everyone else. And I'm not blaming him for doing it, because I don't think he thinks that deeply, quite honestly. But I don't like living in this divide and conquer area where we have to fight our family and our friends, and where someone like me is called a racist almost on a daily basis for just having my own opinions.
Listen, I grew up in New York at the same time Trump did. Okay. Like I tell people all the time, when I started my show, I was young. Everybody in New York knew what he was from day one. He's just a couple of years older than me, even though he looks like a bag of what. But we all knew he was a criminal. We knew he was a womanizer. We knew he was a rapist. We knew he was in with the mob. We knew everything about him. We knew he was full of crap. But you have to remember, the rest of the country didn't know that. They weren't from New York. They didn't know that. They actually believed all his lies and stupidity, and they fell for it. What I don't understand is how they still fall for it.
Well, because, again, we're in the dialectic. So there's thesis and antithesis equals synthesis, and we're being played, and I'm not sure Trump is that aware of it. Biden, I don't think, is aware of anything. And I'm wondering if we would even have a Biden without a Trump. He did kind of set the stage so that could be accomplished and be possible. And somewhere Hillary Clinton is going, how did I get gypped out of this?
Listen, I got to tell you, Jack, when I saw the lineup on both sides for the election in 2016, the last person I would have thought that would have gotten it was Trump, and in 2020, the last person I thought would get it was Joe Biden. Both times, they had a guy who actually fights for the people, but it looks like somebody gave him a strong message, and he dropped out, even though he showed up with bruises to endorse Hitlery, and I'm talking about Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
So Bernie Sanders,
I
still report on him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Jack.
I'm sorry, but that was Russian disinformation. We just want to be very clear that the Russians did that to Bernie and not the DNC. Oh, that's right. We have actually emails that would show that. Okay, go ahead.
Anybody that would have looked at Bernie the night after he probably got a visit at his hotel room threatening him and his wife and children all the way down to his grandchildren and see the bruises on his face and how angry he was to endorse Hitlery would be smart enough to know that he got the message. But who's still fighting for us, the real people? Who's fighting for unions? Who's fighting for Social Security? Who's fighting for taxing the rich? It's still Bernie Sanders, who would have been a way better president than either of the two we got.
Okay, that's why they had to kill him in the primaries 2 elections in a row. He was the Ron Paul of the Democrat Party.
Right. Because I mean, listen,
I watched it happen, Maria. I was right in the middle. I watched it happen. I watched the media lie. You know, here's 3 people that show up for the Ron Paul rally. No, it was 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd watch how they would form this and do it, and then I watched how they would take away primaries. I mean, Ron Paul in 2012 won Iowa, but they didn't give it to him. They gave it to Santorum because they can't do that. They did the exact same thing. So that then we get into this whole issue of, well, there's no election fraud of any kind, you know? I mean, that's the norm.
The election frauds happened since we were born, maybe before we were born. And if you want to look at election fraud, you should look no further than 2000, when the Supreme Court of Injustice handed the presidency to a moron, George W. Bush, who, of course, was really not president. It was Dick Cheney who ran the show.
I want to talk about news, but this is fun to talk about, and we haven't really gone here yet, I don't think, because we haven't really done any radio in like probably a year or so, Maria, at least, and then it was pretty brief. But you know that in the 2016 election, Jeb, it was a Bush. It was going to be Bush v. Clinton. It was pretty set, but it wasn't Jeb's incompetence. It was partly that. That ruined him as a candidate. He had all the money. He was preordained to be the nominee for the 2016 election for the Republican Party. It was actually, if you do the digging and do the research, it was Clinton and the DNC that handpicked Trump to run against because, hey, they're going to beat Trump. It's Trump, right?
I thought it was a shoo-in. I looked at Trump and Hillary and I said, wow, what a choice. AIDS or cancer.
Well, it's always like that, by the way.
And you know what? The DNC is actually considering, Jack, running Hillary again. So if they want to lose, put Hillary back on the ticket.
Well, because here we are again, history repeats itself. They think, okay, well, Trump's going to run and he's going to force people to get behind him in 2024 if we're predicting it, and that's probably how it will go, though I'm not sure. A lot of people are real shaky on all of that. She thinks, well, this time I'll beat Trump for sure. I mean, look at Biden. He can barely even talk. He's a senile, hair-sniffing racist from way back. I mean, and he got elected. So,
listen. I'm younger than either one of those two dolts, okay? And I can tell you that, and probably in way better shape, there's no way I could handle that kind of a job. And not only should there be term limits, there should be age limits. You know, you look at John Fetterman this morning, okay? He had to go back in the hospital after a stroke because he was feeling faint. Now he's being treated for depression, okay? I don't want to say anything good about Nimrata, who poses as Nikki Haley. But when she said that they should have cognitive tests for all politicians over the age of 75 taking a jab at her old master, Donald Trump, I think every politician, regardless of their age, should be tested cognitively.
Yeah, okay. No, absolutely. And, I mean, I got to give Trump because they did that to Trump. They tried to do that to him.
Oh, please, that simple little test that somebody with half the head blown off could have passed.
Well, sure. Yeah, sure, but we're not seeing that. So, again, we have another double standard, and I think that's what divides Americans. We feel like, you know, one side that has ABC, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, Disney, all of the corporate media, the Washington Post, the New York Times, and of course we're seeing this now play out in a congressional hearing regarding the Twitter files, et cetera. They feel like the entire system is against them, and this is how and why I can commiserate or I can understand why people want a guy like Trump, who seems to look like he's just throwing a monkey wrench into the whole system. Okay? So I get why they do that. And I'm going to say the same thing. I was very appreciative of President Obama coming in, being the first president my age.
Right.
That really...
the majority of Americans are young. Where's their representation? Look at Dianne Feinstein, 89 years old, senile as they come, who announces she's going to retire, and an hour later she said she didn't make an announcement that she was going to retire. I don't think that 89, 70, and even though I'm over 70, I don't think anybody over 50 should be in office, because most of Americans are young and they have no representation. You have all these old farts pretending to be Christians, okay, with their oxymoron Christian nationalists, who want to make us a Christian country, which, by the way, I covered the first of my 23 years on my webcast, that this was their goal. They want to strike everybody's rights. You don't even have the right to be the sex you want. You don't have the right to have sex the way you want. You don't have the right to choose whether you want to have a child or not. And yet they arrested a mother because her 14-year-old was home babysitting. And they thought the 14-year-old shouldn't be babysitting because a good nosy neighbor called the cops. But they still want that 14-year-old to have a baby. I mean, this country is so screwed up.
Yeah, but don't forget the best part is they would ban abortions for poor people. They don't want any more of those, right? Because this is eugenics. It's still eugenics, and that it's not just Republicans, it's Democrats, it's rich versus poor. It's not Democrat versus Republican.
The rich always get what they want.
And they'll get abortions left and right if they want to, right? It's nobody's business.
They always have. Listen, when I was a young gal, I was probably about 18. I was working in New York's fashion district, and it was a huge fashion company that I worked for. And I worked under a couple of their buyers that used to travel around the world to pick out styles, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's 1967. Remember, Roe versus Wade wasn't even a thought. These women got their abortions at top New York hospitals. They got their morning after pills when they flew to France in 1967. They got whatever the hell they wanted because they had the money and they were white. Okay, so this is, again, class warfare, which I started covering 25 years ago with Dave McGowan. Class warfare, war on the poor. So they want poor minority women to keep having babies, but they don't want to support those babies and cut all kinds of social programs. So it's just screwed up to the max.
I mean, if you're not connected at this point, you might as well... I'm going to quote Darby Crash, who I know you have no idea who that is, but he was the lead singer of the Germs. And he went to high school in the 70s, okay, like I did. And he said, you want to know what it's like to be black? Dye your hair green and go to school. Right? And I understand because I can cut my hair, I can put a tie on, I get it, I can't change my color, and I definitely have benefited from some white privilege. Don't be shocked, folks, but it has happened to me, and I get it, I understand, but I have lived in the underground most of my life, Meria, and I could tell you that we're almost, if not worse, than whoever you want to classify as, whatever terms you want to use, whoever is in the bad crowd today, whoever is, being riled against on every single level, we are also. The poor in general this is what we found out with Occupy. This is what we found out with the original Tea Party, that we'll be killed, we'll be taken over, we'll be COINTELPRO'd, we will be completely, because if you decide and get together that the enemy is the upper class, the rich class, the bloodlines, then forget about it. I mean, you will be put down like a dog.
Well, if people, and I maybe I'm the only person that ever promoted his book, but Donald Jeffries' book, Survival of the Richest, If everybody in this country read that book, they would take the fight where it belongs and stop killing each other. But until they realize it's class warfare, not black against white, not gay against straight, it's class warfare, nothing's going to change.
And it's changed a little bit with right speech, newspeak, groupthink. Where are you on that dial? Because now that seems to be the more important thing. And that puts me in a really bad position. And, I was an investigative reporter for years. I took flack big time. Had grenades thrown through my window. My computers killed and taken over. Death threats and international lawsuits from law firms in London. I mean, you want to go really do something important. The limo driving podcasters probably never have this problem, but we did.
Of course not. Of course, they're put out there just like the rest of the media, which is just another mouthpiece for the corrupt government we've had forever. But one thing that gave me hope, I reported it on my news show this morning, is that 50% of Americans don't trust the media to give them the truth.
That's
50%.
it? That's a very low number.
Hey, for after us busting our asses for 25 years to tell them they're all owned by 6 corporations giving you the same bullshit night and day,
yeah.
At least 50% woke up. So, I'll be dead before the next 50% wake up, and I'll be happy to leave.
Who are the 50 that trust the media and trust our institutions?
Schmucks, that's who. Schmucks, brain dead, willfully ignorant, Trump fans, fake Christians. I mean, the list goes on and on. But I warned people, Jack, when they were white people, when they were okay with these black people getting murdered by the cops like nobody's business. And I said, listen, sooner or later they're coming for all of us. Well, today I had just 2 stories, proof of that. One was a white guy, I believe it was, I want to say Alabama, who they arrested. They put him in jail. He froze to death because they put him in the freezer. Okay? That was one. The other one was, you probably covered it too, the 73-year-old white grandma with dementia who walked out of Walmart with maybe, I don't know, a $12 tab. She went back in, paid it, and the cops beat the living crap out of her, caused, permanent physical damage to her, and she was white. People don't understand. This is class warfare. This isn't white against black. They want us to believe that so we could have another 60s riot. But this has always been about class warfare.
Divide and rule, divide and conquer. That almost, Meria Heller is with us today. Her website, I hope it's still MERIA.net.
Net.
Yeah.
Net.
Yeah.
Still the same website.
You subscribe to her show. There is a paywall, but it's very cheap, and you guys could be supporting somebody who will do their best to tell you the truth. None of us claim to be 100% truthful all the time. We try to do that.
Right.
But, I mean, come on. Our record of being right beats any mainstream news channel you'll ever see. In fact, you know what I found out, Maria, and I wanted to segue into this BLM COINTELPRO story that just came out by Alphabet Boys, but you know what I found? What? Is that when I was being called a conspiracy theorist, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it is,
all right,
I was not only right, but I undersold it. I could have gone further even and been right. And I was just trying to be, measured and get everything in and do both sides of the story and all of that, And my conspiracy theories, which were facts, don't even measure up to what we got for years on the Russiagate stuff and all of that. I mean, the conspiracy theory, I just turn on MSNBC tonight and watch conspiracy.
Jack, did I lose you?
Something is up with Jack's connection. I'm getting no sound from him.
Oh,
Let's
I don't know
see.
what.
He is
Am I still on the air?
You are, Mom. Hold on just a second. Jack, I don't know if you can hear me, brother, but we cannot hear you. You are connected, though. Did you hit your mute button, sir? Not sure what's up with Jack's mute button.
I don't know either.
All right.
But pursuant to what Jack said,
yes, go ahead.
I will go further and say my favorite expression for myself is I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong. And, when you live long enough and you see everything that I've predicted so many years ago happening, you can't deny it. But people still don't want to know the truth. And you know what? That's a choice, and people will pay for that choice.
Absolutely correct. And what we're going to do here, a little executive decision on the producer's part, is go to a break on the Jack Blood 360 show here on Ocelli.com radio. And I want you guys to stay tuned.
The TSA.
The one thing we're trying to tell you to do is, advertise on this show. Not this show, but the network. I mean, this show, if you want to. I mean, it's very cheap. Just come up with a couple $100 and we'll just throw ads. We'll do the whole production for you. We'll just take care of you. Wouldn't you want to do that? Well, I don't know. Thousands of people will see it. I mean, come on. Because you can get in on the ground floor right now. Get a long-term contract if they'll let you. Throw down thousands of dollars for the next year, and this network breaks out. We're very happy you did. It's a very good investment. I love you guys. Stay with us. Check me out on all my other devices. Until then, I'm Jack Blood, your radio gun saying be bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid.
WallStreetWindow.com. Gold, silver, the stock market. WallStreetWindow.com. Perhaps you're invested deeply. Perhaps you're not in deep enough. Maybe you're thinking about getting started. WallStreetWindow.com. Michael Swanson, the brilliant author of The War State, understood these trends professionally for many years, and now he gives you the benefit of his knowledge. WallStreetWindow.com. Go there now. Go there now. Go there now.
The War State by Michael Swanson explains the great national transformation that took place and put the Kennedy presidency in the context of the times and reveals never-before published information about the Cuban Missile Crisis. President Kennedy would not have been assassinated if he had been president 200 years ago. His assassination took place in the context of the Cold War and the rise of the national security state. Before World War II, the United States was a continental republic. In the decade that followed, it became an imperial superpower. Generals such as Curtis LeMay not only wanted to invade Cuba, but knew that there were short-range missiles on the island armed with nuclear warheads that they could not destroy because they were on mobile launchers. Their invasion could have led to a third world war, and they wanted to go to war anyway. The War State by Michael Swanson reveals why and will show you what President Kennedy was up against. For more information, thewarstate.com.
The views expressed by callers, co-hosts, or anyone else who happens to get on the air at Ocelli.com do not necessarily reflect the views of Ocelli.com or Chuck Ocelli, and we are not responsible for any stupidity which might ensue. Thank you.
Ocelli.com.
Revelation through conversation.
You're listening to the Jack Blood Show. Be bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid.
Well, we're back, and thank you for joining us. We're live today with Meria Heller, MERIA.net, to go find her show. She has over 20 years of archives to go find there. And she's my sister, and I love her very much. If we disagree, it's just because it's fun. But so I think what the last thing I said, and by the way, your book, The Awakening of an American, How My Country Broke My Heart, I can completely relate to that and all the other work you do, and I want to talk about some of that because magic is real. The last thing I said before my system went down, I got kicked off, which does happen every month or so, was here we go. Get ready, folks. I'm going to get dropped again. That BLM was COINTELPRO'd, and they have all the documents in the papers, and these guys came out the Alphabet Boys. They do a podcast, and this is pretty hard hitting. It was covered on Democracy Now. Good on them for covering this. That the FBI disrupted the racial justice organizing after the police killing of George Floyd in 2020, including paying informants all kinds of money. Here's one informant, $20,000. And of course, you know what they do. People believe that COINTELPRO went away, Maria. But what they do is they go in, they infiltrate, they disrupt. If you are at all potent, if you are at all getting traction with the community and with the country and the world at large, they're going to come in, especially if you're preaching unity, but they're going to come in and they're going to infiltrate you, and you should be well aware of that. And they're going to turn you against each other. They're going to go fed when they're the feds. They're going to try to trick you into doing something violent. They're going to seed in provocateurs so that one side can point the finger at the other side. Right. And I really honestly don't see the difference between this and what we know about the January 6th thing. It seems that these are the same forces that are putting us against each other, and there they are doing the same thing they did in Occupy, where I watched in Occupy in Austin, where they came in, gave $10,000 to the leader, he kept it, then they went, oh, that guy kept all your money, he didn't share that money with you, and it broke apart the whole entire thing, and then of course we know what happened later.
All right. Well, listen, they did the same thing in the 60s with the peace movement. Okay, except, the government used the scumbag called Timothy Leary to convince the kids out there that was, protesting for peace and not war in Vietnam. He just encouraged them to, tune in and drop out. So, they introduced drugs to stop the anti-war movement. And then, of course, Nixon made sure that John Lennon was killed because you can't sing about peace. And over and over, and I covered that story, by the way, of the COINTELPRO with BLM on my show today. But when you talk about these kind of things, most Americans, they do like those three monkeys, deaf, dumb, and blind. They don't want to know because they don't want their illusion broken. My illusion was broken. It's funny you mentioned that book, The Awakening of an American, because you couldn't have found a more patriotic kid than me when I was little. But when you really learn just how scummy your country is, founded by nothing but scum and lowlife from Europe that came here and slaughtered a beautiful race of people that should have killed them instead of sharing their food and teach them how to survive. America's calm is coming back in spades right now. We're living through it.
Well, I'm not going to debate what we found here in America, because that's a very deep dive, and I think we need to cover all sides of that. But it's something to think about, and we should think about it. And it's funny because the last time I got called a racist was last week when I posted an F Troop video about balloons, just for fun. Mm-hmm. And do you remember, you watched the F Troop maybe when you were coming up?
That was not a show it was too moronic for me to watch.
Well, it was, but it was satire. It was, okay, this is like Archie Bunker. It was satire that some people just didn't get.
Right.
And the funny thing about F Troop is that the pale face was the idiot, complete idiot. It's like, the Nazi thing, where they were in the concentration camp, which, name escapes me, but you know what I'm talking about, that the Americans are in the concentration camp, or they're prisoners.
That's, shit. That's like one of my favorite shows.
Everyone in the audience is going, that one.
That's with, Alan Alda. MASH. Talking about MASH?
No, I'm talking about, it just escapes me. But the Nazis were just dumb in that. That wasn't promoting Nazis. The Nazis were dumb. In F Troop, the pale face, Manifest Destiny dudes, they were dumb. They were dumb, and the Indians were smart, and the smartest people on the entire show were the Indians. Now, they did get actors to wear makeup to play that. And
of course, they didn't even have Native Americans playing Indians. They had white people
so
playing.
I get it. I get why people get triggered and knee-jerk into that, and I know why Blazing Saddles should never be watched by anyone.
Blazing Saddles is one of the best movies ever.
It's satire, and Mark Twain was satire. They're getting rid of Mark Twain. I mean, this is the world we're in now, where we are so again with the divisiveness, but we are so divided that we get triggered on this little stuff, and all we have to do is the bottom of the pyramid holds up the top of the pyramid. All we have to do is just realize that and topple the capstone, and then we're good, man. We are good.
Yeah. I agree. You think about Gangs of New York, where the characters actually take the fight where it belongs, onto the rich. The rich were able for $300 to get out of conscription, which for people that don't understand means they didn't have to serve their country in God knows what illegal war was going on at that point. But and Daniel Day-Lewis is great in that movie, and people should watch it. I keep waiting for that to happen because it needs to happen. Okay, you need to bring all that hatred and anger that they want you to have against average people like yourself who are maybe luckily making $30,000 a year, and take it to the rich bastards who have screwed us over, bought SCOTUS, bought Congress, and they're going to continue to do that to us. So I don't know whether Americans still have a revolutionary spirit enough to take on the people that are the problem, and that's the top 1%.
I wouldn't even say 1%, because the way that figures is just somebody that worked really hard and makes $200,000 a year or something.
No, the top 1% ain't making $200,000 a year.
No, it is. If you do the numbers, the 1%, it's the 1% of the 1%, Maria.
Well, whatever. It's like you see the attacks are starting to happen, where people are attacking people or busting into their super expensive Teslas or whatever, starting to go after, ripping off the rich. It's just a matter of time, because poor is poor. And when you have nothing, as, God, I wish I could remember his name. I had him on my show. He had said that guerrilla warfare, the guerrilla warfare side always wins, because when you have nothing left to lose, you fight like you have nothing left to lose. And that was Stan Goff. So as they continue to strip, now, pandemic's over, the made-up pandemic's over, so we're going to cut, the SNAP program, which is food program, we're going to cut, child care credits, we're going to cut this and that. What do they think is going to happen? They think people are just going to sit back and starve, or let their children starve?
Well, if it's for God and country, maybe they will. I don't know. I really don't. Because I lived in the Deep South for 20 years, and I saw how that happened, and how people's minds get captured, and how consent is manufactured, and not just consent, because it is the root word of consensus. And if we get consensus, they're done. They are absolutely done. That's the trick. If you guys want to know what the magic bullet is, and I can see, I'm one of these people, Maria, that, as you know, who have offered solutions all over the place, but I'm not driving the limo, so, nothing succeeds like success, as they like to say, and I'm no Donald Trump, so who's going to listen to me, right? But I have done this work every single day for the last 25 or 30 years, and I just know what they don't want to hear, and that's why I was kicked off my own show just a few minutes ago.
Well, you know what? I told Chuck we were hacked. And this is why I don't do a live show, because I used to get hacked all the time. As you know, Jack, because you were a co-host for at least, I want to say, 12 years on my show with our Blood and Guts. But when I was coming out with 9/11 Truth, right after 9/11, I got hacked by the FBI. they were tuned into my show. And that was before the Patriot Act. So they had to go all the way around the world to tap into my show. And once I let them know that I knew they had tapped into my show, they immediately clicked off. People don't understand. If you really love your country, you will tell the truth no matter what the cost is to you.
Hogan's Heroes, by the way, is the name of the show.
There you go.
I completely messed that up, but
I might have watched one or two of those.
Oh, well, it was actually based on King Rat. King Rat was a movie where the British were taken prisoner of war, and they were in a Japanese camp, and they ended up catching rats and cooking them in a way that served the Japanese. They thought they were eating steaks or something.
Well, now they want us to eat bugs. Now they tell us we should eat bugs, so why not eat rats?
I'll eat bugs. I don't care. I'm
vegan, so I don't eat any of that crap. I'd rather eat grass and smoke grass.
I mean, I know that's a thing now. I'd rather eat bugs than the pre-manufactured, packaged in plastic foods that we get. It's probably better for you, but I get where they're
at least it's organic. At least bugs are organic. They haven't laced them with antibiotics, drugs, and who knows, God knows what else.
But you have to eat wild bugs and not farm-raised bugs.
I guess we'll have to ask them, are you wild?
You're there in Arizona where the Super Bowl was.
Yeah, I'm nowhere near that mess.
Well, kind of. You're nearer than me.
Right.
There was a kerfuffle. You know what that word means. If do we have to define that? It's a big giant shit show because they had an ad, a recruitment ad for the military, which is a part owner of the National Football League. They do a lot of business together. They got caught years ago.
And the national anthem. It's a recruitment thing at the NFL.
But it is, and not only, we'll get into the shots here if you want to, because not only is that a thing, but I wanted to bring this up because I lived in Phoenix when Pat Tillman was over there, and he got all, incensed over 9/11. He quit.
Right, and then they killed him.
They killed him.
Of course they did.
They used him as a recruitment ad in this Super Bowl, and people, I'm very happy to say, fought back. They weren't happy about that. He was fragged, and not only was he fragged by his own people, and they changed the story and put out propaganda like Jessica Lynch or whatever else, but he was fragged after he started talking to people within his unit about how the whole war on terror was phony, and he got sucked into it, and that's their poster boy came out saying that.
Right, and how many times did he yell at them? I'm Pat Tillman. How many times while they were shooting at him? So, listen, people are stupid, and they're going to buy whatever bullshit. Listen, as far as the Super Bowl, the only Super Bowl that I would say is a Super Bowl is a toilet that cleans itself. I don't watch the Super Bowl. I could give a shit less about football. I could give a crap less about, halftime, the devil, this, that, Jesus. If the Christians have $7 to $20 million to advertise for Jesus on a Super Bowl, which Jesus, if he ever existed, would be rolling in his grave if he actually stayed in his grave, they should be paying taxes.
I wrote a play 30 years ago where Jesus comes back and he's like, okay, I'm back. Mm-hmm. And he takes control. He tries to take control of all the assets of the church.
Yeah, they kill him even quicker than they
crucified him again in my story. Yes, they did.
I remember I think you and I discussed this on my show so many years ago, Jack. When I was in high school, I wrote an essay, If Jesus Came Back Today, and basically I said at that point in high school, so God knows how many years ago is that, 60, that they'd murder him even sooner than they did now. And, if you tell a white person that Jesus was Middle Eastern, they go berserk.
Oh, did we lose? You lost me now.
You
lost me again.
No, everybody's still here,
okay.
Jack.
Okay.
Maybe I stymied you.
Man, I'm so glad we brought you on today because it's funny because in a lot of ways, I'm not going to say we disagree on things, Meria, but I don't have Trump hysteria. I don't have Trump derangement syndrome. I don't listen to what Democrats say. I don't know about you. I'm a complete heterodox, and that has nothing to do with your sex or whatever. It's orthodox or heterodox. I mean, in a way, those aren't camps. It's I don't trust institutions, and every day I watch the news, and it gives me another reason not to.
Absolutely.
And I know that people...
Listen, I've been talking about the one-party system as long as you have, Jack. So I'm no fan of either side. I do like the progressives who get their asses torn apart because they can't afford rent in D.C., or because they're actually telling the truth, or maybe they made their living as, a barmaid or whatever. If we continue to ignore the young voices, young people in this country have no future.
Well, I'm pretty pissed at the progressives because they give us a line of bullshit to get elected. They're in the squad. They're doing all this, and they're going to fight for us, and they don't do shit.
Yeah, but what do you do when you have racist, old, ugly, dried-out, dead dick white men who take the progressives off committees, who continue to assault them?
Oh, man.
Verbally.
I wish we could take the white out of it and just not even...
Well, hey, I'm sorry. I got to go with the white. I'm Italian. Okay, and when Italians came to this country, our papers were stamped non-white. Okay? It wasn't just the Japanese in the internment camps. It was Italians as well. Okay? I'm proud to say that I'm not white. Okay? I don't consider myself white, even though my exterior looks white.
Yeah, good luck with that.
I understand that kind of prejudice because I grew up with it. In my high school, you were either black or Jewish. I was one of maybe 3 Italian Americans in high school. It was not pleasant, okay?
Well, I'm a third generation Irish, black Irish, by the way, immigrant, and we were treated like gold. So, I mean, I can't relate to that.
You were treated like gold. You got the jobs that, were one step above the jobs they would give Italians, which wasn't much to brag about.
And it's a good story.
I understand that, every race gets its turn in America, but it just never seems to end. Okay?
It's a good story because if you organize and you infiltrate the very system that's oppressing you, one day you might take over. And then at some point, we have now our second Catholic president. Are we broadcasting, Chuck?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We are.
I'm not sure because we already got kicked off once or twice. I blipped for a second. No, I don't want to say that because I don't think it's fair to white people, to any race. We're not races, we're people. And that's what has to be, I think, broadcasted. That's what has to be underscored. That's what has to be emphasized on every level because that's divisive.
Of course, inside, if you cut our wrists, we all bleed red. Okay? But if you look at the Supreme Court, we have 6 Catholics on the Supreme Court, bankrolled by the Federalist Society. All right? The Supreme Court has no ethics rules. They can do whatever they want. They're collecting money from a lot of these religious groups and passing laws that I would say at least 80% of Americans don't agree with.
Okay, well, most of the Supreme Court is either Zionist or Opus Dei, which I don't think represents Jewish people or Catholic people.
Well, Zionism is a political movement. Judaism is a religion. There's a big difference.
But they're Opus Dei.
I've covered that on my show to the point
Opus Dei.
Grow up.
They're Opus Dei, which isn't what most Catholics are. I'm not sticking up for Catholics, and by the way, religion should not be any part of our Supreme Court. I've given up.
I think that everybody in office should be an atheist. I don't want to hear anybody's religious claptrap. If it works for you, good for you. Don't push it on anybody else, let alone make our laws suppressing women's bodies and women's rights to turn us into breeders based on their sky god hallucinations.
I think you're going to have to. I think we're 5 minutes or 4 minutes away from the top of the hour. I think you're going to have to stay, and we should open up phones because I just imagine we've upset some people here today. Either you or I have.
My whole life has been. That's my life's mission is upsetting people. I'm here to make waves. No other reason.
I wanted to go back real quick before we go to break. Please stay with me for just a little bit on the other side. Meria Heller is with us, MERIA.net. You'll not hear anything like this, and I think the people that I try to gravitate towards, the people that I want to reach, would love you, and that's why you're on the show today, and you're my friend.
Love me. People who hate me, and I don't care.
You're my friend, and you'll always be my friend no matter what. But this is like a weird conundrum because you mentioned term limits earlier, and you know who the champion in the Senate of term limits is? Guess.
Who?
It's Ted Cruz.
Yeah, I heard that today. He should never have had a limit. He should have 2 term limits, one in office and one in prison.
I was in Glenn Addison's crew, which ran against him. He would have never been a senator if people would have just elected Glenn Addison, who was, by the way, he was a undertaker. He knew where the bodies were buried. We should have had Glenn Addison and not Ted Cruz in. And I don't agree with him on almost anything, but why do you think that is? He's championing term limits. He's a senator. I mean, that's for life.
Well, it's all BS. Anything that comes out of his mouth, I would not take to the bank.
But he's literally making the argument. I don't know, man. I mean,
we'll see what happens. I mean, I've been
why would he? I'm asking you the question. He's not just out doing lip service like we're going to tax the rich, like Democrats say all the time and never do. He's literally making a case argument and willing to step down from being a senator. I know he's all Goldman Sachs. It wouldn't hurt him he's already got a lifetime pension from it. But because I believe that if we can get term limits, and he's really strict on it, I mean, what he's preaching and what he's selling to people is 2 terms and that's it. I think if we can get that, we can have Congress coin the money and get rid of the Federal Reserve, and that it's not going to be politicized, and we could go into a whole new realm on that level, which I believe is a solution worth looking into.
Absolutely. I mean, if you have term limits on the presidency, why not? Why not on Congress? Why not on SCOTUS?
On SCOTUS, I know. That's the Supreme Court of the United States, my friend.
Can't get rid of them.
I know.
They drop dead.
I get it, but that's a conundrum. And then watching the Republicans right now run their hearings, which I'm rooting for them on this, only because there's a lot of dirt under the rug that needs to be cleaned out. And I know that why they're doing it is probably not something I would support. But the fact they're doing it, the fact that Matt Taibbi, who is far from a right-wing Republican, right, is decoding thousands and thousands and thousands of emails from Elon Musk, who just hands them all this, to know that we are being censored by our government, that your page, my page, are being pushed down and disappeared. The fact that this is all coming out, I mean, it'd be easy and really lazy to just say, in my opinion, that, they're just having this discussion so they can keep doing it. But it's coming out, and it's pissing off a lot of people, and it's verifying the conspiracy theories that we were talking about all these years.
Well, let's see what happens. I don't go to hip hip hooray until it's done.
Yeah, but you got to cover it.
Well, I'm sick of covering it. Believe me, after 25 years. A lot of your listeners may not know that you were my original producer when I was on terrestrial radio. So you add those, what was it, a year and a half to, 23 years online. After a while, it's like every day's Groundhog Day.
They don't even know that I was on terrestrial radio, let alone know that you were on terrestrial, 50,000 watt stations. Those were the days.
And I brought in the listeners. Let's not leave that out. I brought in the listeners, Jack.
Big time. You and my Lebanese friend, Joe Abadili, you guys had more listeners than all of us put together, except for my show, which, you did okay. Can you stay for like 20 more minutes? Would that be cool?
Sure.
All right, we're going to take top of the hour break. It's the Jack Blood Show. I'm Jack Blood, your narrator, your radio gun. We'll be right back after this. Ocelli.com.
You're listening to the Jack Blood Show.
You're listening to the Ocelli.com radio network.
Ben Swan from BenSwan.com and the Truth in Media Project, and you're listening to the Jack Blood Show. I think he's drunk.
In denial.
You're listening to the Jack Blood Show because you give a crap and you want to know what to do about it. Now let's get to work. Here's Johnny.
In my line of work, you got to keep repeating things over and over and over again for the truth to sink in, to kind of catapult the propaganda.
I want them to appreciate the incredible job we're doing. We are doing a job the likes of which has never been done before. You're going to have mental depression for people. You're going to have large numbers of suicides. Take a look at what happens in a really horrible recession or worse. So you're going to have tremendous suicide. But you know what you're going to have more than anything else? Drug addiction. You will see drugs being used like nobody's ever used them before. And people are going to be dying all over the place from drug addiction. I want them to appreciate the incredible job we're doing. We are doing a job the likes of which has never been done before. I want them to appreciate the incredible job we're doing. We are doing a job the likes of which has never been done before. You're going to have mental depression for people. You're going to have large numbers of suicides. Take a look at what happens in a really horrible recession or worse. So you're going to have tremendous suicides, but you know what you're going to have more than anything else? Drug addiction. You will see drugs being used like nobody's ever used them before. And people are going to be dying all over the place from drug addiction.
On the airways.
I am here every Thursday, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock Pacific time, right here on the Ocelli Radio Network, which is really one of the most, I think it's the gem in the landscape of media today. Please donate, buy a coffee and some smokes for my man, my producer, and the owner of this network, Chuck, today by donating at Ocelli.com. Keep it alive. Keep it alive.
Ocelli.com. Revelation through conversation.
Well, when they found out substances. You're kidding me. You're kidding me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're kidding me. Well, more and more people put it down, but we got that reefer madness and it's getting around. Well, what are these lies coming out my TV? 'Cause no one ever died from smoking weed, yeah. You're kidding me. You're kidding me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're kidding me. Relatively small groups consider the moral majority. Make laws and give crude men the authority to put behind black people like you and me. You're kidding me. You're kidding me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're kidding me. Well, more and more people put it down, but we got that
It's Madhouse Radio. We're back on the air. You probably missed the best 15 minutes of radio you ever heard because we were off there. Meria Heller is with us today. MERIA, MariaHeller.net, and then you can find her on... Do you want to tell people your social media or not? I don't know.
Well, you know, a lot of my social media is under fake names because I've been kicked off so many times. But if you're on Facebook, you can go to fans of Meria Heller. I am my real name on Instagram, which is Meria Heller. But the rest, I'm not about to out myself as who I am since I've been kicked off so many times.
No, you gotta have two lives. It's your life that you do as an activist, because you are, as a truth teller, because you are, or the other life that you live in your community where, you know, hey, for instance, during the old COVID thing, I had to lie to everybody. I just bold-faced lied because they made me. I had to.
What'd you lie about?
I'm scared to even say at this point, but that I got the vaccination, that I believe that everyone should be vaccinated and put in a laboratory, that people were dropping dead all over the place, like right in front of me. Oh no, that's happening now. It didn't happen then, now it's happening.
Well, you know, I live in a small mountain town filled of crazy people. So not a one of them that I talk to, especially at the gym where I'm at every day, not a one of them have taken the shot. So I never had to say I took the shot. And when my doctor asked me, do you want a shot? I said, yeah, tequila. That's it.
Well done.
There you go.
No, but I had to work and, you know, I have to put food on my family and all of that, and it was tough. It was really tough.
It's a lot of bullshit. And now, you know, I'm doing a whole series with Patricia Corey on her excellent book, Hacking the God Code, where she talks about the shots and the spiritual reason that they want to give people these shots, and it's not positive. Actually, I have a new chapter with her coming up next week. We've done 3 shows on it already. And if people are dumb enough to take the shot and not ask questions, when even my own doctor said they won't tell us what's in the shot, well, good luck to you. And I hope that myocarditis doesn't affect you and all the other, you know, sudden death happening to adults where they just drop dead in space, or the strokes or everything else. You know, one of my friends is a good believer in the government. He got both shots, and then within 2 months he had 2 heart attacks. So, hey, Have at it. You do what you believe is right for you and your body. And like my son
we could. I know we could talk about choice, freedom of choice, of what to do with your body. We could talk about that the vaccine itself was put through by Trump. It's a warp speed that he loves. It's the most beautiful vaccine ever, and I saved the entire planet by doing it and working with but. We get into biohacking, which is a Bill Gates thing, AI.
Pardon me.
Only about the schmuck Elon Rusky.
Ladies and gentlemen, pardon me while I burst into here because I want to let the listeners know that lines are open, which Jack has not done here. Because you wanted the lines open, they're open, Brother Jack. So, just proper etiquette here, 319-527-5016. That is the number to call in if you want to get involved in this particular discussion. I already see from the live chat that is possible, that you may have interested listeners. So one more time, 319-527-5016. And you could indeed join into this conversation between, two legends in my mind, Jack Blood and Meria Heller. One I call mom, one I call brother, and now you can feel sorry for me. 319-527.
I'm mom and Meria is brother, but But you had a question, Chuck, from one of the listeners. They wrote in with the question. I want you to read that question. We have about 6 minutes here, so read the question and let Meria have at it.
Well, look, we're going to suspend breaks here because whatever you want to do, that's what we're going to do because we had an extended break trying to straighten out something. So don't worry about it, folks. You can get in on this, and I want you to get in on the call. So one more time, 319-527-5016. Now I'm done with that, and I will.
We had tech Nazi breaks.
Yes.
The tech Nazi breaks. So that's our breaks, I guess. Sponsored by Tech Nazis. Go ahead, man. Read the question.
Sponsored by whoever has the courage to sponsor it. That's still open too. Anyway, moving forward, I have a few questions actually. So one is directly for Meria, which is, quite frankly, do you support cognitive and civics testing for all candidates, regardless of their age? For instance, would you be all right with them testing AOC? In the same way that they should test Joe Biden, in the same way, well, I guess not all candidates, but all those elected to office, was a very long question, which I have now condensed. So, cognitive and civics questions and tests for everyone, not just medical, but also their knowledge and all that. So, do you support that?
To make sure they're not mind controlled. But go ahead, Meria.
Simple answer is yes. Just like I believe that every couple that wants to have a child should be severely tested before they decide to become parents.
Wow. Okay, now that one I didn't expect. But anyway, I will continue.
Surprise.
I will continue.
I'd have failed.
There you go.
You need a license to go fishing. You should have a license to reproduce.
You shouldn't need a license to go fishing.
Yeah, but you do. And you know what? Most parents need to pass some tests before they have children, because the children are the ones that suffer from their parents' ignorance.
Well, my opinion doesn't count on this show, so I won't say anything. But another question for Meria here from the chat. Marla Maples, have you ever encountered her personally?
Hell no. Why would I have encountered her? I did see her picture next to, actually wasn't her picture, it was E. Jean Carroll's picture. When Trump raped E. Jean Carroll, she was the picture of Marla Maples. When they showed the picture to Trump during his trial, he said, "Do you know who this woman is?" He says, "Yeah, that's my wife." Even though he didn't marry Marla Maples till 7 years later. And then he said E. Jean Carroll wasn't his type.
Okay.
That's as close to that as I got.
No problem. Again, I'm just firing the questions. I didn't imagine them. But here we go. One for Jack now. Did Jack go to school with the Germs, Darby Crash, or Pat Smear?
I've met Pat Smear. I never went to school because those guys lived in Southern California. I grew up in Seattle. But the Germs are the greatest punk rock band to ever live. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And one more question for the panel, which is from a Skype entry, which I just received. And it is...
But wait, Chuck.
Yes.
I went to school, and the punk rockers in my neighborhood would be hunted down literally by guys in trucks who would come beat your ass if you had funny colored hair. Or now I know we're all doing that, and it's a road, it's cool, but whatever. I mean, I grew up miles from where I'm broadcasting right now, 4 miles away, and it was literally, it could have been the hitherland, it could have been, the deepest south. It was so crazy because we weren't allowed to have opinions. We weren't allowed to have funny hair or earrings or whatever. And this is back in the 70s. They'd come, you'd have to fight. You'd have to fight to do that. And now maybe you should have to fight. I don't know, because now it's just a matter of order. It's just a matter of fashion. I wish it was then. And we fought for, you guys, I hope you appreciate what we fought for. We fought for your right to look funny.
Absolutely. And that did continue into the 80s, about 10 years younger than you. So let's see, the Skype question here is Meria a Democrat, actually an honest-to-goodness Democrat on the Jack Blood Show?
Hell no. I've been an independent for the past at least 25 years.
Okay.
Did you vote for Joe Biden because you hate Trump?
No, I didn't. I voted for Bernie.
Fair enough. If there are any other...
I voted Meria Heller for president.
They should have, but I don't want the job. No, thank you.
There you go. Maybe we should get a committee together and make Meria part of it, and then we can all share in fixing this mess. Anyhow, look, any other questions, if you want to put them in the live chat, put a Q in front of them to call the blind man's attention to them, thank you. And that way I will pass them along to the host and the guest. Otherwise, you can ask the questions yourself now. 319-527-5016. And I do believe that completes my on-air producer duties. Jack?
Yeah, good job, Chuck. And I want to hear your voice. So
Thanks,
we don't
Chuck.
have video and stuff. I want to hear people's voices because I think the inflection in your voice and how you're presenting yourself in a passionate way, has something to do with your question. So that's important. Meria, I know this is like a limo driving podcast. I've kept you for 2 hours. I booked you for 1. But let's stay with me for the half hour, because this could be legendary. So let's talk about the derailments. Let's talk about sabotage, derailments, chemicals everywhere in our food, air, water, and furniture. If you go to the dump, you cannot put your mattress or your computers or your couches into the dump because they're toxic.
Well, in Arizona you can. You can throw anything you want in there, including probably dead bodies. But when you look at, people think there's only been the Palestine, as they call it, even though it's spelled exactly like Palestine, Ohio, train derailment. They're telling people, come back, the air is clean. Where did I hear that before? Oh, Christy Whitman after 9/11 in New York. Come back, the air is clean, and then everybody got, World Trade sickness. There've been
Hillary Clinton said the same thing.
Four trail derailments. One of them outside Tucson, Arizona, by the way. I think the other one was in Michigan. And the last one, I don't know. You'd have to listen to my show to find out. I don't, recall every fact and detail I give out there. But you got to get that Trump was very much in the same line as George Bush Jr., the idiot king, with deregulation. And he allowed, the train system to deregulate themselves. So, their stockholders made out. And I think, my own opinion, if you're living in Palestine or Palestine, Ohio, you're never going home if you have a brain in your head.
This, Jack, is the sound that indicates you have a call and you actually have two on the line.
Let's do it. First one. I don't have the name. You can announce them if you want. Are we?
774.
Hi, this is Chris Graves. I just want to know, what is Jack and Maria's favorite Dave McGowan story, if they have one? Thanks.
Well, I'll give you mine. The best series I did with Dave was Wagon the Moondoggie. So that's my favorite. We had so many laughs through, God knows, we must have done 15 shows on that. But that was one of my favorite with Dave, and we've done a lot. Dave was probably a co-host for at least, I want to say, 12 to 15 years.
For me, it's the entire Program to Kill book, which I based my interview with Vincent Bugliosi on and freaked him out. It's known on the internet, on YouTube. You can still find it. Best Manson interview ever. And when Chris interviewed me, I told him that the Manson people contacted me, that Charlie loved that and wanted me to interview him just before he died on that whole thing that Dave did. Yeah. Program to Kill. No, because the serial killers, they go to a place in Germany, a military base, and they get trained, and then they come back and they're serial killers. I mean, it's just a thing that happens.
Listen, Dave McGowan was a genius, without question of a doubt, and a genius with a tremendous sense of humor. So I don't want to leave that out.
Yeah.
I had more fun with him than anybody.
I love that guy.
Oh, thanks, Jack.
Thanks. Listen to the Chris Graves show. Yeah. Next call, Chuck. Running out of time.
989 area code. You're on the air.
Hello, this is Jim Jamesworth.
All right, man, go ahead.
I had a question about why is Meria so pro-infanticide?
So pro-infanticide? You mean pro-abortion? I'm pro-choice.
No, I mean, right, but you said you oppose what? Well, let me ask you this. At what month do you think abortion should no longer be legally?
That's a good question. I want you to answer that, Meria, because the Fallon, or Representative Fallon, he is known as, and that's my son's name, he's Irish, went to Notre Dame, he's Catholic, okay, don't get scared. But he said after 20 weeks, we gotta look at this. Like, is there a cutoff that,
the only cutoff, I believe that 21 weeks is rational. But at any point that the mother's life is in danger, and the baby is, as now they want women to carry dead fetuses inside them and force them to give birth to a dead fetus, anytime the mother's life is endangered, the mother should be saved.
All right. Yeah, thanks for the question. I'm glad that he asked that, because it's a weird line that people are drawing, and some states are putting it like that. Okay, I hate talking about abortion because I feel it's so stupid sometimes. Just, you guys do what you want to do, and no one should harass
anybody.
you.
And listen, I'm okay with people killing themselves, whichever way they want to kill themselves. I've been okay with euthanasia since I was 16.
But a 5-month-old fetus.
But, most women are not going to have an abortion in their third trimester. If they were going to have an abortion, it would have already happened. If you go by the heartbeat, that's a joke, because a heartbeat, you can create that in a petri dish. And I always think about Terry Schiavo in Florida, who they kept alive, even though she was a vegetable.
We covered that, yeah.
Right, she was brain dead, okay? When the hospital says you're brain dead, you're dead, but your heart's still beating, so what the hell does that mean? Nothing.
They politically fundraised on that in the same way they politically fundraise and divide us on the abortion issue.
Yeah, that was a big one for Jeb Bush, if you remember.
Oh, God.
But I don't think anybody should have children they don't want to have for any reason. That's it, period. Because what I look at and see what is passing as parents today who wanted those children, who they abuse, like I said, parents should have to take a test.
Yeah, but you know what? That's what the Republicans you hate say, that if you want to get welfare, you have to take a drug test, that kind of stuff. Like, I don't want that. Like, can we just be free?
That's a different story. I remember
I don't know.
I remember that the Republican Jesus said the same thing, didn't he? Oh, I can't break this bread for all you people to eat unless you show me that you qualify. Listen, the Republican Party is not what it was 30 years ago. It's abhorrent. It's a nightmare. It's riddled with racists, rapists, pedophiles, ignorant pigs like Bo Burt and Marjorie Taylor Greene and this loser George Santos. This is your Republican Party today, sparked on by the king of fools himself, Donald J. Trump.
But I don't disagree with that because it's politics, and politics is money, and money, is our problem. But I see the same problems on the Democrat Party, and I hope we're not having that conversation. Because
listen, Jack, you and I have talked about the one-party system for how many years? Decades now. It's boring. It's not going to change. They'll never allow a third party to go anywhere.
It's about communication. So when you spend all your time going against the Republican Party and blanket them with everyone is bad and everything they say is bad, then people, I know, it's just how people work. They assume that you're just a Democrat.
Well,
you're not.
Show me the heroes in both parties. Show me.
I will. There are a few. Yeah, and they're not heroes, but there's heroic moments. That's all.
It shouldn't be it. It's their job. I don't want to see these people on TV. I don't want to see them on late night. I don't want to celebritize them. You're a politician. You're elected to do a job. Do the job. Stay under the radar. We don't care about celebritizing you.
Okay, but this is going to make my listeners mad because the thing about Obama, we already mentioned, he's the first president my age and maybe the last. He's the first black president. He broke that kind of black, but he broke that when that.
Yeah, and that'll never happen again. I have.
Well, but you know what he did? Hey man, there's stuff he did, and the two things that always stuck out to me was, forget Obamacare because that killed Dennis Kucinich. And, he had to make a deal. Yeah, but he freed Cuba. He lifted the sanctions in Cuba, which I really was about. I liked that. And he went to Iran and confessed to the 1953 overthrow of Mossadegh crimes and apologized for it. And I know a lot of Republicans were really mad about that. Then he started like 7 or 8 wars.
Right. Well, they got to work for the war machine. The war machine is our number one export.
I'm gonna give him that in the same way I'm gonna give Trump a few things. But I'm not come on, let's get off of this politics.
Listen, let me tell you something, Jack, on a personal note. One of my close friends is a staunch Republican, big Trump fan. Hated Obama to no end, okay? So I'm going to assume he was slightly racist. But when he had to have a triple bypass and he had no insurance, he got on, I said, you got to get on Obamacare.
Yeah.
Okay, he got on Obamacare, which paid for his triple bypass. God knows what that cost. So he benefited from it, regardless of how much he detested and hated Obama. Okay. So, it's almost like that old expression that there's no atheist in a foxhole. Okay. I'm sure.
I love that. I fucking love that. That's so great. Yeah.
Right.
It's true.
So I'm sure there's plenty of people that benefited from Obamacare that are Republican that won't tell their neighbors that.
All right, let's finish off with if Chuck has more calls and you guys have the phone
hurry up,
number.
my chili's getting cool.
I know. Well, we're literally 20 minutes away, 19 minutes away, 19 hijackers. Train crashes outside Detroit, Michigan with one car carrying hazardous materials. And wait for the question. We have had sabotage all over the place with these trains. Sabotage. It is. I don't know who's behind it. We should look into it. Sabotage going on at power plants.
Food plants.
This has been happening all over the place, and I know that that's the problem, and I know there's the reaction, and I know there's a solution to this. Let me hand it to you.
Well, I mean, you got to look at, how weird is it that you sometimes catch the people sabotaging the power systems, sometimes catch the people burning down the food factories, the people burning down and destroying the farms, And, of course, now we have these multiple train derailments with poisonous whatnots. And let's not forget the balloon and God knows what flyovers that were shooting out of the sky like candy. I would think that somebody somewhere should think, maybe America is under attack. But you don't see these stories on the news.
America is under attack because people think there's a country called America or the United States of America, and that's delusional because there hasn't been for a very long time. Cy Hirsch. I mean, I don't know about you, but I really respect Cy Hirsch.
I do too, and I'm sure he's 100% right, and I agree with Ed Snowden. Ed Snowden said that the stuff in the sky, the balloons in the sky, is distraction from the United States attacking the Nord Stream oil pipeline of Russia. I believe Cy Hirsch.
But here's where I'm at on it. Don't say it didn't happen, because they threatened it, Victoria Nuland and Biden, and they all we're going to kill that pipeline. They don't want Germany and Russia to have an economic thing because that could create World War III, but that's happening anyway. Anyway, for real, I think where we're at with this is not that – let's have the right debate, Meria Heller. Let's have the right debate. It happened. We bombed it. Was it right or wrong? I mean, that's all I'm saying.
I think it was theater. They've been out there for how long?
They bombed it, and it was a massive environmental mess.
Oh, you're talking about the pipeline. I thought you were talking about the shootout.
But don't say that it didn't happen.
Of course it happened.
We bombed it, and it happened, and Cy Hirsch was right. Now the debate is, let's be adults. Is it right or wrong? I mean, maybe that was the best thing to do. I'll have that debate.
Is it right or wrong? It's right if you want World War III. It's wrong if you don't. So we've been pushing for World War III. Listen, whenever the world economy is in the toilet, which it still is, worse than 2008, no matter what they tell us, we start a world war. It's a distraction. So yeah, the U.S. government has flown tons of those balloons over every other country. Whatever else they're finding in the air, we've done it too. Which might be the only thing I agreed with when Trump said we do the same thing that they do. Okay? But everybody wants to believe the myth that America is this white light, the white knight on the planet. We're the best country on earth. We're the peacekeepers, blah, 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 which is bull crap. Our number one export is death. It always has been.
Well, it's fake because there are no countries, and that's what us little people have to understand is they don't see it that way. And they used to call it the New World Order. I don't know. Is there a better word for it now?
New World Odor?
The brave New World Order, I would say,
Right. Now we're all going to kowtow to the World Health Organization is going to tell us, everybody in the world, what we can and can't do with our bodies. Where's that story? Where's the media on that story?
Well, the media didn't even cover Cy Hirsch, and he's nobody. I mean, he only broke the Miley massacre, the Pentagon Papers, and I interviewed Daniel Ellsberg. I spent 2 hours with Daniel Ellsberg on that. I got him in a lot of trouble. I don't know if you remember
I
this.
had interviewed him so many years ago, and I remember the last thing he said to me. He said, Meria, I guess I'll see you in the camps. And you know what I said to him? Oh, it's okay. That's where the only intelligent people will be.
So I interviewed him, and don't get mad at me, folks. I was guest hosting for the Alex Jones show. And I had him on, and he said 9/11 was an inside job and needs to be reinvestigated.
Mm-hmm.
So we get done with the show. Daniel Ellsberg from the Pentagon Papers. It's a great story. I mean, people don't understand that it's like, well, he just leaked some papers like Edward Snowden. That guy went to Vietnam for 3 years and was on the ground. I mean, he's just an amazing dude. And so he's like, well, we need to reinvestigate and look into 9/11. It could be a Reichstag thing. He literally used that word.
Of course it was.
And he called us an hour later and said, get rid of that. I'm getting, people were listening, and they were like, you can't say that. You can't say that, Daniel Ellsberg. We have to delete that file. You can't be on the record saying that. And it was a big, we'll use that word again, kerfuffle. It just was.
That's a shame that he caved in. I didn't expect that out of him.
Well, no, because
See, we live in a society now where you're afraid to talk about anything. They want you to be that way. They want you to be afraid to talk to your neighbor. You know, that was the idea of the shutdowns during the fake pandemic. You know, be afraid of your neighbor. They're going to get you sick. They'll make you die. They want us to feel that way about talking to our neighbors about issues. Public debates out of the question. Now the Republicans just voted that they don't want debates before the presidential election. So everybody's afraid to say what they feel. And, you know, that doesn't fit for me. You know, I'm a woman, I'm from New York, and I'm Italian. Good luck with that. It's a scary situation. It's 1984 on hyperspeed, worse than the book ever described.
I want to thank you and your listeners because you guys sent me magic. Oh. And I had my eye was all messed up and I thought my retina was detached, and it probably was. And you put out some really super awesome green Reiki energy, and I know people are like, woo-woo. No, it works. It works. That's the consensus we need, is healing consensus.
Healing, peace, love. What happened to those things?
Man, and you guys, and so I went to the emergency room, and the guy's like, you have high blood pressure, here's the drugs, and he wrote me a script for all the drugs that you have to keep taking, and the second you get off of them, you're dead. That's not why I came in here. I came in here because I think I had a detached retina, and it scared me, you know, it just scared me. And I was really surprised when that happened to me, Meria, because I found out that a lot of men my age get that. It's just like thing now that they get, you know, and you have to have eye surgery. And then I talked to one of my friends in Texas. He's like, yeah, they had to evacuate my eye. They took his eyeball out and did all this operating and stuff on him, you know, and it really scared me, you know. And then I went to the emergency room, and he's like, yeah, your retina's detached. And I put you, my sister, my friend, you put it out there to all your people, and you guys sent me this magic. And then I went to the specialist. He's like, oh, you're good. No, it's not detached. And all you got to do is just, like, you know, not jump up and down and, you know, fight and whatever, you know. And I'm, to this day, I mean, it's a slow recovery. It's been my friends that love me and my show. It's been a very slow recovery, but I didn't need surgery, and I made it. And I think that magic is real, and I think that magic is real, and that Christians don't like magic, but they are a part of magic too. Magic is good for everyone, and you can define it any way you want. I'm not saying like satanic magic or whatever. Magic is real. You can manifest what you want.
Absolutely, and if there's Christians who don't think magic is real, would realize that the church had 366 books and handpicked the ones they allowed you to read in your Bible. It's, I think, 68 books. But there was a whole lot of magic in the Bible, and they couldn't scrape it all out.
They burned down the Library of Alexandria. They burned down the libraries of Carthage. I mean, that's history, and burned down. By burned down, I mean get all the good stuff and put it in your library.
It's burning down history once again.
So how do we, because we have a few minutes left, and I love you so much, Meria. Thank you for coming on today, and I'm all about this. And for listeners going, well, she triggered me, you're triggered. It's not her fault. It's not my fault. You got triggered. Like, stop getting triggered. Like, let's just do that.
Listen, I can't make anybody feel one way or the other. Your feelings are your feelings, and you need to deal with them and look at where they're coming from.
I mean, you're wrong sometimes, right? I'm wrong sometimes.
I guess so. I guess I'm wrong sometimes, but not often. I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong. It's just a matter of timing to see how long it takes for what I prophesy to come true.
Well, you got to be humble, and so if you're humble,
I'm humble. Believe me, I'm humble, or I'd be working for a living.
Well, I do work for a living. I just got another job that's really awesome.
I'm really happy for you, Jack.
This is just right up my alley, is helping other artists and the stuff that I do. But so let's go because there's 8 minutes left in our broadcast before the Chuck Cocelli show comes up, who's our great producer here.
And by the way, for your audience, I do a show twice a month with Chuck Cocelli.
Yeah.
We call it Hell and High Water. Because we both have the word hell in our names, and we raise a lot of hell.
Okay. All right. I have blood in my name, so, yeah. My neighbors are my very super sweet same-sex marriage, and they adopted a kid, and they have this great house, and we got along so good with them, but they're selling it now. So now I'm going to be kicked out of my neighborhood. The entire neighborhood has decided they're burning my house down because we're one of the last punk rock house left in Seattle, and we need to be away from this because it's gross. It's really gross to have us next to them. And they actually cut all our yard out, and just to make it more, I guess, right? To make it more economical for their sale. I know, because we're the house on the neighborhood that brings everyone's property value down.
Oh, God. Painted purple.
Oh, man, we're out. We're going to be kicked out. I mean, but let's just spend the last few minutes on people that, and by spiritual, we don't mean, we're not trying to put you in a category, but spiritual or otherwise, what can we do right now? Like right now, not something in the future, not some grand opus, but what can we do like just tomorrow that makes life a little bit better? And I'll just let you run with it.
No, simple thing. When you wake up in the morning, don't curse your alarm clock. Wake up and say, thank you, I'm alive, I'm healthy, and I can get out of my bed. Put a smile on your face. You walk into the post office or going shopping, smile at people. You know, it changes your attitude and it changes their attitude. Listen to people. Find commonality. We have more in common with each other than we don't. So find that perfect segue and on a common issue to start talking to your neighbors. Listen, if I could do it in a red Republican state like Arizona, which is like, you know, everybody's like militia ready in this state, you could do it too. Whatever your spiritual, religious program is, work it harder. Do more. Do it more often. You know, help people that have less than you. Educate people. Turn them on to Jack's show. Turn them on to Chuck's show. Turn them on to my show. Let them know they're not alone in what they're thinking and that there are people brave enough to tell the truth and bring these topics out to the public. I think that's a good place to start. And when you get in bed at night, do something sacred. You know, light some incense, smudge your room, say some prayers, send good energy to the planet, send good energy to the leaders on this planet, send out light. There's a lot of groups that do mass meditations. You could join in on that. You're not alone and you're not helpless. And as soon as you realize that you have the power and you start taking your power back from everybody that's taken it from you, life changes.
I just thought about smudging. Just smudge yourself.
Smudging's so fun.
With a little cell, you know, a little sage, you know, sage yourself a little bit. It can't hurt you. It's not a cultist. You're not the devil. Like, just like the little sage will work.
Look, all religions use some kind of sacred smoke. Okay, whatever church, synagogue, whatever you go in, they use some kind of sacred smoke. So it's really holy smoke. So, you know, if you light a little sage,
holy smoke,
man.
I'm
the
actually
what
carries
your prayers to the universe.
I'm
so don't be afraid of it.
I'm gonna holy smoke as soon as we get done with this show. Like big time. The Pakalolo is what we'll do. All right. And, you know, the sacred mushroom and all that. But I'm pretty sure that the Democrats don't like that. They hate that. Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I think we should be.
The Republican Democrats hate it.
We should be sending truckloads of cannabis to Congress, to the White House, to all world leaders. Because you know what? When you're stoned on pot, you love everybody. The last thing on your mind is a fight or war or anything like that.
Bingo.
So I'm all for it. Just keep them all stoned. They do a better job.
We have pot stores here in Seattle, and it's pretty neat. Okay, Meria Heller, Meria, MERIA.net. Go check out her show, and please support it. Don't support me, because that's fine. I support myself. But support her. Check this out. We've been doing all the loose change guys, so I have Corey Rowe coming up next week, Dylan Avery, who just recorded this new record, and has been doing all these films and everything.
Cool.
He's moved. Yeah, it's going to be super fun. All my friends are going to be coming up the next few weeks, and I hope you guys stay tuned, listen, and support us. I'm jackblood@hotmail.com if you want to do a little – we don't have a paywall here, but if you want to do a little nice, with the PayPal – PayPal, but they accept it, or Zelle, which goes right to our bank. Man, that would be really cool. And,
by the way, Zelle is owned by PayPal, in case people don't know that.
Oh, man. No one will donate to me when you say that.
Why not? Listen, I've been with PayPal for 25 years, and they're a whole lot better to me than any of the credit card companies I ever used through the banking system. So, listen, everybody's going to roll out a way to take your money, but, it all ends up in the same place.
And support Ocelli.com and all their hosts, the Chuck Ocelli Show, coming up right now. Thank you, Meria. I love you, girl. We'll talk soon.
My pleasure. We'll talk soon, Jack.
All right, y'all, stay bold. Mighty forces will come to your aid. This is how you do it.